Hello. Okay, so the two things that I did not said I wasn't going to do have happened, which is go first, and I also said that I was going to run up here like I'd won a prize in a game show, and I haven't done that either because I was afraid I would fall. But that might have been better because you would all remember me that way for having fallen on my face. So what I'm going to do is read just a couple of paragraphs. Really, it's about 4 paragraphs. And then I'll just sort of talk very briefly, and then I will go away because who wants to hear me blabbering on all night? So, what I'm going to read is from very early in the novel. The title character, whose name is Hattie, is 17 years old, very recently married, and has twins who are very, very, very ill. And she has essentially closed herself in the bathroom in her house, excuse me, and is running the hot water in hopes that the steam will help her 6-month-old babies breathe better. So just a few paragraphs. The bright bathroom overwhelmed. Oh, oops. I should tell you also that her twins are named Philadelphia and Jubilee. This will help you. Okay. The bright bathroom overwhelmed. White tub, white walls, white tile. Philadelphia coughed, a protracted exhalation of air that shook his body. Hattie took the tin of hot mustard from the radiator and slathered it on his chest. His ribs were twigs beneath her fingers. With the slightest pressure, they would snap and fall into the cavity of his chest. Both had been so fat when they were well. Philadelphia lifted his head, but he was so exhausted that it dropped. His chin bumped against Hattie's shoulder as it had when he was a newborn and just learning to hold up his head. Hattie walked circles around the little bathroom, rubbing Philadelphia's back between his shoulder blades. When he wheezed, his foot flexed and kicked her stomach. When he breathed, it relaxed. The floor was slippery. She sang nonsense syllables to him. Ta, 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 dum, dum, ta, ta. She couldn't remember the words to anything. Water dripped from the windows and from the faucets and down the wall into a panel around the light switch. The whole bathroom dripped like a Georgia would after a rainstorm. Something buzzed, then fizzled inside the wall, and the overhead light went out. The bathroom was all blue and fog. My God, Hattie thought, now this. She leaned her head against the door jamb and closed her eyes. She was 3 days without sleep. A recollection descended on her like a faint. Hattie and her mother and sisters walking through the woods at dawn, Mama first, with 2 large travel bags, and the 3 girls behind carrying carpetbagger satchels. Through the early morning mist and the underbrush, they made their way to town, skirts snagging on branches. They snuck like thieves through the woods to catch an early morning train out of Georgia. Hattie's father was not 2 days dead. And at that very moment, the white men were taking his name plaque from the door of his blacksmith shop and putting up their own. Have mercy on us, Mama said, when the first horn sounded over the fields in the distance. So that's that. And so this chapter is, as I said, it's the first in the novel, and it's particularly relevant for a couple of reasons, which are sort of what the book is about. And the book is very loosely, Hattie is very loosely inspired by my own grandmother, and the book in general is sort of very loosely inspired by my own family. Very early in my life, when I was 9 or 10 years old, there was a kind of a separation between my mother and I and the rest of my very extended family, which is really quite large. My mother comes from a family of 9. And so in many ways, this book is an attempt to imagine my way into a family that I have not had the privilege of knowing very well. And it is, secondly, in homage to the women of the Great Migration, which is very briefly, the Great Migration is the migratory movement in the United States of American blacks from the South fleeing all the sort of terrors of the pre-civil rights South to the North, which was marginally better at the time. But at any rate, that movement was pioneered by just everyday, average folk who raised families, who left where they were with absolutely nothing and started again from absolutely nothing. And they are really incredible heroes, and their movement changed the face of the United States. And it gave us from everybody from James Baldwin to Michelle Obama. So this book is both in homage to my imagining a familial context for myself and to the incredibly heroic and unsung men and women of the Great Migration. Thank you.